well, it's that time of year again. It's November, Thanksgiving, kicking off the holiday season, and what else? Of course, potting up our Amaryllis. And in this video, I'm going to be doing exactly that. I'm going to be potting up my Amaryllis that have just come out of dormancy. I'm going to be walking you through everything you need to know as far as potting up Amaryllis, the cycle, the timing, dormancy, all of that good stuff. And like I said, in this video, I'm going to be potting these up. I will show you the soil mix that I'm using, what to do, when to water them, basically all of that, plus a ton more. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm Tyler. If you like what you're seeing or you find this video to be useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, or better yet, you can hit that subscribe button. Now, to really show me some love, click on the bell for alerts and notifications for future content. Oh yeah, don't forget to check out my merch page, tylermossop.com. So first things first, this is the soil mix that I'm going to be using to pot up all of my Amaryllis bulbs that have just come out of dormancy. Now, to give you a little idea of what's in here and the ratios, I'm using about 1 part horticultural charcoal, 2 parts of some succulent grit. I'm using some peat moss with some perlite, as well as some pine bark, some composted pine bark, and it's about even parts of the pine bark and the peat moss and perlite. I'll throw down exact ratios and mixes in the description down below if you want to double check or triple check those. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be using, and it's really important to use a really good, well-draining soil mix when it comes to your Amaryllis bulbs. Now, let me show you what all needs to be done. If you're looking for some extra tips on dormancy and what all that means, be sure to check out this video right up here. I'll throw a link down in the description as well, when I took all of my Amaryllis bulbs and I prepped them for dormancy and put them into that dormancy state, which is crucial if you want them to rebloom. So that was at the end of August, I'm pretty sure. We're now well into the month of November. So it's a good idea to let these in that dormant stage at least 2 months, if not a little bit longer, is really ideal. Now, I'm a little bit neurotic. I have a ton of different Amaryllis varieties, and I've gone ahead and basically labeled them so I can match them back up with their pot, and that way I know what variety of Amaryllis I have. The reason you do this is not just to be organized or anything like that, but it's also because all of the bulbs look exactly the same when they're in this state. So if you don't label it, you won't know what variety you have, especially obviously this is important if you have multiple varieties. But yeah, this is really exciting. Usually I do this a little bit earlier in November, but there's nothing wrong with waiting a couple more weeks. I've been really busy, as you guys know, so I'm just getting to this now, but I'm super excited. So give me a second and I'll find an Amaryllis bulb and its matching container, and then I can walk you through what the repot all entails. I have here Double Dream in my hands. This is the Double Dream container that I've matched up. So I can go ahead and remove this little label that I made. Now, coming out of dormancy, your Amaryllis bulbs should feel nice and firm to the touch. Now, a lot of the foliage will have died off. I like to leave it on there so that the bulb can sort of absorb any nutrients, especially if the leaves are still verdant or green. Leave them on, the bulb will absorb that over dormancy. Now, of course, some like to misbehave and start to sprout a little bit earlier than they should, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So we'll come to those later. But basically, we have our bulb here, nice and healthy, nice and firm. We're going to mix up our soil mix, add some to the container. I have bigger containers for some of these bigger bulbs, smaller for the smaller ones. So you want it to have a good fit. And basically what I like to do is fill it up probably halfway, place the bulb, and then fill the soil up to about its neck. You definitely want to leave some space at the top, and that's because when you're watering it, it's really important to make sure that you're watering the soil around the bulb and not getting any water into the bulb. So pro tip there. But let me fill this up and put this in and show you what it should look like. This is the perfect amount of soil, and as you can see, I've left a good 2 or 3 inches of the top part of the bulb up and above the soil line, excuse me, and that's exactly what you want to do. So give me a couple minutes, I'll be right back. I'm going to pot up another 14 or 15 of these, and then I can go through some of those amazing details that you need to know in terms of bringing them out of dormancy, potting them up, and what to do in terms of watering care. All that jazz before you can expect these beautiful blooms. That was a labor of love. It took a minute to pot up all of the 18 adult amaryllis bulbs into these 18 pots. Now I did have 5 or 6 babies from last season, and what I ended up doing is basically potting them up in with the parent plant. Now I'm not sure if those are gonna bloom this season or not, I would imagine not, but just to kind of conserve some pots and potting mix, it's a great idea to pair them up in the same pot. Now, as I explained, drainage is hugely important when it comes to potting up your amaryllis. So it goes without saying that, of course, you need to use terracotta pots work great. Obviously having a drainage hole, and I'm using these little saucers, is a kind of a really good combination, including that soil mix that I shared, to just really ensure that you're not overwatering your amaryllis bulbs. All right, so once you've potted these up, we can start to think about where you want to keep them, where that ideal location is, and watering. So let's start with location. A windowsill or something that gets a really good amount of morning light, for example. Good bright indirect light is always okay, but a windowsill is a great spot for these. I like to keep these kind of displayed on this table here. This does get a good amount of light from a huge window over here, and then obviously I have a skylight as well, that helps. So I do keep these kind of here for the holiday season, which I love. Now, when it comes to watering these, what I like to do is once they're potted up, I give them a really sort of light watering, and then I won't water them again until the bulb is showing signs of new growth. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by new growth. All right, guys, so I just potted these up. As you know, there's some really cute new growth coming in there. So this is an example of a bulb that once I water it today, I can go ahead and water it again in a week's time, but I wanna ensure that it's a little bit bigger, there's some growth there. If there's a bulb that you've watered once you potted them up and you can't see any new growth coming in like that, then you're going to hold off on watering it until something does sprout from the bulb. So now that we've talked about where to keep your amaryllis bulbs, when and how often to water them, a couple of final details to kind of wrap this part of the video up. So like I said, I like to keep these here, a little bit of water. Once you start to see new growth, that's when you can water it that second time. Drainage. Use a really good gritty soil mix. Drainage holes, saucers, all of that goes a really, really long way. Now it does take about 2 months time before the foliage comes in, and then 2 months before you start to get your first blooms. Every amaryllis variety varies slightly, so some may come in sooner than others, and obviously it's a function of just how happy that bulb is with the light and all of the different conditions, but it does take about 2 months. Now obviously, depending on when you pot them up, I'm a little bit later in November. If you do it a little bit earlier, you could imagine that these are around for the winter holidays, Christmas, that kind of thing. Because it's later in November, I would expect the new year to be kind of full of blooms, with all of these amaryllis being potted up later in November. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. Be sure to check out the other amaryllis videos that I've created in terms of timing, dormancy, the conditions you need to do and consider to get those little baby amaryllis bulbs that are so adorable. So check out those videos. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description down below. Just to be super clear, for the foliage and the blooms, it takes about 2 months before you can anticipate the beautiful flowers. So just to reiterate, it's the end of November, so I should anticipate getting blooms in the month of January, near the end of January. And a couple of other things. I don't tend to fertilize my amaryllis bulbs whatsoever, so that's not something that I typically need to worry about. And in terms of the different phases or stages of the cycle of amaryllis, this kind of phase, once you've potted them up, is really the simplest because you just get to water them, enjoy the foliage come in and the flowers bloom. It's afterwards keeping them out for the summer and preparing them for dormancy where it gets a little bit trickier. But for now, this is basically it. I'm going to give these guys a little bit of water and then just watch them over the coming weeks just really start to flourish, grow, and thrive. But that's basically it for this video. So leave a comment down below. Stay tuned because I'm going to do a ton more content showing you guys the beautiful blooms and what happens with those gorgeous little adorable baby amaryllis bulbs as well. Well, that's it for me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Miss you guys already. Until the next one.